What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and in today's video, of course, we're going to be talking about Kill la Kill If. The game dropped today, and I thought I'd give my first initial thoughts and impressions. For reference, I've played around 2.5 hours, and there is plenty to talk about. Now, first and foremost, what exactly is Kill la Kill If? Well, it is a game that is based on the anime of the same name. It loosely follows the same story beats, the overall arcing story, but there is a few twists thrown in here and there to sort of keep fans of the anime on their toes, to stop the game from just being a simple retread of the anime. In terms of the actual gameplay, it's kind of titled as a 3D arena fighter or an arena brawler, so to speak. One-on-one fights obviously play out in a 3D environment, with attacks and movement and such basically being, beat for beat from the anime, which is what makes the game so cool if you are somebody who has seen the anime. Now, initially I had been planning to stream through the entire story mode. Of course, there is a story mode for those of you who are wondering, but there is a content ban on that, which basically means I won't be able to stream or upload anything from the story. So yeah. What you're seeing on the screen at the moment is footage from the training mode that I have captured. But regardless, let's just dive right into my thoughts on the game, starting off with the combat. Of course, the majority, or the entirety of the game is its combat, and I want to say that it's kind of simplified, but at the same time it is passable, it works. So you have your standard close range combat, mapped to one button. You have your long-range special attacks, your projectiles mapped to another, and then of course you've got your break attacks, which serve as a dedicated guard break, mapped to another. So you have 3 attack buttons. You've got your jump button, which also acts as a button that allows you to perform a homing dash on an enemy, regardless of the distance, and of course you've got your guard button. But let's not also forget the fact that you can dash around. This is an entirely 3D game, allowing you to essentially perform flashy dashes in and around the background, running circles essentially around your opponent if you choose to. To add to this, there are a few other mechanics that the game does provide. The first of which is the special attack mechanic, of course, which, in this day and age of fighting games and whatnot, is essentially standard. You fill up a bar by taking damage, by fighting, and then the left button, the L1 button, acts as a sort of modifier which allows you to perform super versions of each of the attacks. A super close range attack, a super projectile attack, or a super break attack. And of course, the cool thing about all this is that the attacks are essentially lifted directly from the anime, so it doesn't take many, button presses to whip out a stylish, awesome looking move that I guess could be considered memorable. Of course, the game does have a combo system, which basically runs off the directional inputs of the joystick, and of course the button inputs that you do press. So there is some degree of complexity to the game, without even talking about the Valor system, which essentially is a sort of rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. You've seen it in the gameplay here, and depending on whether or not you win, there'll be a different modifier attached to the character that wins, with achieving the 3rd level allowing you to dish out your super move, so to speak. And as mentioned, it all visually does seem quite appealing. At the press of a few simple buttons, you'll be dishing out these insane, hyperactive looking moves, lifted directly from the anime. But for those of you who are, I guess looking for something deeper, maybe more akin to something like a Guilty Gear or a Blaze Blue, that's just not really the case here. There are a few things here and there that sort of just make it so that the game kind of falls short. In my opinion, one of which is the camera. Sometimes the camera can get a little bit jittery. The camera positions itself in an awkward position, and it kind of makes it hard to see what the hell is going on. Another aspect of the gameplay that I think kind of holds it back is the movement for me. Sometimes it just doesn't feel precise, regardless of whether I'm running around or performing dashes. I'm never quite where I want to be, which can get a little bit annoying at times, but overall it doesn't ruin the entire experience. and the game is quite fun to play. And whilst the gameplay you'll be seeing in the background is just a simple Ryuko versus Satsuki, there are 10 characters to play as, with I believe 2 more being added as DLC. So there is a lot for you to get stuck into. There are plenty of characters to sort of learn the ins and outs of what exactly they can and can't do. But the game isn't just its gameplay, there are a bunch of other aspects to it that I really do like. The first aspect I kind of want to mention is the sound design. That goes from the dubbing to the soundtrack to even the sound effects. I want to say the soundtrack and the sound effects are lifted directly from the anime, so they do sound essentially spot on with what you've previously seen. And of course, the soundtrack for Kill la Kill has always been fantastic, so no complaints there. Of course, we also have a dual dub here, so if you did want to go for the Japanese dub, maybe you're not a big fan of the English dub, you have that option there. But if you don't want to continuously read subtitles, you can just slap on the English dub. But that is all to be expected, considering that Studio Trigger had a hand in making this game. For those of you who don't know who Studio Trigger are, they are the animation studio that made Kill la Kill. So of course you'd expect the soundtrack and all that aspect to be impeccable, which it is. Moving on to the obvious, and that is of course the graphical presentation of this game. Now of course Kill la Kill is a 2D anime and this game is entirely 3D in regards to its gameplay and its cutscenes. So A+ games clearly had their work cut out for them in terms of attempting to replicate the 2D nature of Kill la Kill. But I do think that they've done a really good job. There are scenes in the game that feel like they are directly lifted straight from the anime, and they've done a really good job in capturing that hyperactive essence that essentially is Kill la Kill, especially with its animation. Moving away from that though, let's kind of talk about the game's story. I say kinda because I can't really mention much without spoiling things, so I'm going to keep this a bit brief. Essentially, it boils down to the game essentially retelling Kill la Kill's story in an alternate way, so to speak, which is what the game's title is in reference to, the if section. If this had happened or if that had happened, how would things have changed? So make of that what you will, but as a fan of the anime, I'm enjoying what I've seen so far. Which brings me to the actual length of the story. I believe I'm essentially almost done and I've only put in a handful of hours. People online have reported that the game's story isn't that long either, which brings us to the issue of longevity. How is this game in terms of replay value? And the majority of the gameplay essentially after you beat the story mode boils down to the extra modes that you can unlock, as well as the multiplayer aspect of it. Of course, you can fight against other players online, as well as locally, so that's where I'd imagine most of the longevity of this game is going to be. If you're a fan of Kill la Kill, this game is probably going to be fantastic for you, hands down. Despite the fact that it is limited in some aspects, there is plenty enough here for a fan to get stuck into. Other than the story mode and the versus mode, the game also has a training mode which allows you to fight to your heart's content, maybe practice certain things here and there. But the game also has a gallery, which I guess could be considered a mode in and of itself, but in this gallery you are able to unlock extracurricular things such as artwork for Kill la Kill, the soundtrack, I believe certain voice lines as well, and of course the diorama or figurine mode, which allows you to look at in-game character models. You can put them in sort of different poses and such and take pictures and just make of that what you will. Which kind of brings me to the point that this seems directly aimed at fans of Kill la Kill. If you're not a fan of Kill la Kill, or if you have no idea what it is, you might find that this might be a little lackluster or lacking in certain places. But if you are a fan of Kill la Kill, you'll find plenty to dive into in this game. With all of that said and done though, I am enjoying my time with Kill la Kill, and I hope that you guys are too. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video, do leave a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on all of the channel's latest content. With all that said and done though, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you next video.